if I was talking to Ted Sarandos, who's the president of Netflix, and I was giving him my cheap advice to him would be like, you know what? When people start searching on for Daredevil on Netflix, and you guys don't have Daredevil anymore, but you used to have Daredevil, send them over to fucking Disney Plus. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be a great experience? You know that data. What's it going
Yes.
to hurt for you to direct your users and let them know, hey, it's over on Disney Plus?
Hi, everyone. This is Eve Eden.
And I'm Brian Crowley. Welcome to UX Murder Mystery.
We are going to focus exclusively on how UX is being not only deprioritized within companies, but also, just to focus on where things like discoverability matter, how people who are trying to find content aren't necessarily finding the exact content they want. Over time, that was like one of the great things about Google is I can type something in and find the movie that my dad used to talk about when we were kids, but he forgot the name of it, and we would find it. And now we see almost like a curation from like an algorithm, instead of us curating what we want to see and what we value as important. It seems like the companies are kind of taking that over and kind of pushing UX aside. So that's a little overview on what we're talking about for today.
Yeah, the Google is such a great example because nowadays you go on it and you get the AI summary, and then you get sponsored contents, and then maybe you get a link to what you're trying to look for at the bottom of the page. But oftentimes it's now like it might be on page 2 or page 3, which is insane.
Exactly. So there is something happening where it's almost like we are kind of getting lost within technology, based on a company's priority. And I think our angle today is focused on streaming services, but it does kind of span also search and just exploration and discoverability, especially now when we talk about like things like ChatGPT, Claude, and other AI endeavors.
Eve, have you heard about these boxes? Speaking of streaming services, real quick, have you heard about these very, very popular boxes that are getting purchased for like, I want to say they're like $300 or $400, and they're sold at places like Walmart, where they're these boxes that are basically pirated and have all of the streaming services on them now, and they're becoming very, very popular.
I haven't heard of that. That's something as being new. I have heard of that growing up. I don't know if you remember black boxes. Do you remember this like
Oh yeah,
language?
oh sure,
No.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, this
it's a
is the
similar
new.
concept.
Well, it's a similar concept, only there, like you can go into a Walmart and you can buy a box for like, I guess it's $300 to $400. I forget what the brand name of it is, but it basically has all the pirated. It pirates into all of these different services, and now it's becoming incredibly popular, and people are purchasing this. And I think that there's an interesting, we can kind of like, you and I in the conversation today, we can kind of like walk back and be like, well, what happened? What is the business case or what are the conditions that have been created now that are driving people towards buying pirated technology?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. How many, do you even know how many subscriptions you have today? Like, can you even count? Yeah, you probably have an Excel doc or some sort of spreadsheet to keep track of what you're, just for entertainment purposes, like how many levels deep. I mean, it's like insane. And then on top of that, I really don't necessarily like subscribe to popular, um, media. I guess I like kind of the classic films or maybe the kind of one-off cult classics or things that may not be necessarily findable, and I can't find them in
Yeah.
the services that I subscriptions for.
Well, and what's I think is interesting to rewind that back, if we think back to one of the value propositions of why we signed up for streaming or why we signed up for these services like Netflix to begin with, it was the concept that you could find any type of movie or TV show you wanted. You could just go on Netflix and fire it up and you can find it. Now that's not true.
Yes. And, if you're looking for movies, I don't know, let's say going back to like a documentary film or something like a movie from the 40s or 50s, that all ironically, it's being delivered, not even like it's not even being discovered. Like it's like if I don't type a song, I mean, we talked about Spotify too, where
Mhm.
if I don't type the song in exactly, it won't even it pretend it doesn't even exist. It's like the song exists. It's not available on your platform.
Well, it's also interesting because one of the principles that I think Netflix has tried to push in terms of how they have designed their their algorithm is they want it to recommend you new things, things that you haven't encountered before, and they believe that your path is going to be that if you want to watch say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You want to go watch the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, right? They think that, well, you're going to type that in and you're going to search for it. And so you're going to find it that way versus us presenting it to you, which to me makes no sense. To me, if you know enough about a user, you should be presenting them with options that they may like as more primary than whatever the thing is that you're promoting.
Absolutely. And so what you're seeing is like most interfaces are prioritizing what is trending, what is
Uh-huh.
new, or what is heavily promoted. Why is that?
Well, it's to match their business model because these, as opposed to Netflix of the past, where they were not a studio, they were a intermediary, they were a station more or less. They were getting inform. What's interesting is all the streaming services now, Amazon Prime, the Disney, yada yada, all of them used to be supplying Netflix with content. And
Yeah.
now Netflix has started to create its own content. And when you start to create your own content, then you start to prioritize your own content. So there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there.
Absolutely. And so then it almost like makes I guess like the way the internet when we first got on the internet, it's like, oh my God, like the world at your fingertips. But actually what's happening in a way is it's almost like creating bubbles in the like platform, and so
Yeah.
you're not necessarily having this just it's like an attack on discoverability. So at like an old black and white film doesn't move a quarterly subscriber metric within the business model, and so you don't necessarily get that result, or it becomes secondary to a promotional item.
It's so interesting you say that. It feels like you and I both have lived in Chicago, right? And it feels
Yep.
as though if you're walking through a neighborhood in Chicago, you can walk through the neighborhood and you can see you can walk down a street and you can see house, 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 right? And this feels more like a suburban type of thing where you're driving into a suburb and there's gated community, gated community, gated community, gated community. And like you're just trying to find your friend, right? And now, as opposed to just being able to like walk down the street and ring the doorbell and go see your friend, now you have to go figure out which gated community they're in some suburb.
Right. And so that kind of feeds into this kind of second segment when algorithms become curators. So let's talk about how streaming services are now not being positioned as neutral libraries. They are, like you said, kind of these like, bubbled areas where you can only find Netflix movies or content.
Right. Or if you want something, if Apple has made, I know Apple has made their own thing and they have their own studio, and Amazon has its own studio, and Disney has its own spot. So if you want to go play, if you're interested in, if Mandalorian just came out. The Mandalorian movie came out, and
Yeah.
so now you want to go watch that show. If there are parents that went and took their kids and maybe they didn't see the show and they want to go see the show, well, now you have to sign up for Disney Plus and go get into
Yes.
the Star Wars zone to go see watch Star Wars for however much per month.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened to me. I have a story about this.
Yeah.
So, I have a friend. They have a 3-year-old kid. So
Okay.
I suggested this kid kind of likes music, so I suggested to watch Fantasia. So
Okay.
Fantasia, I think it's like what 1930s movie film.
Oh no, I think it's later than that, but okay.
Is it later?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an older film, right? Older animation, and with Mickey Mouse and kind of just like Walt Disney's almost like creative attributes on display.
Hmm.
And I kid you not, we sat down, I think almost for maybe 25 minutes looking for Fantasia, like based on the subscriptions he has. And what we ended up doing is going onto ChatGPT and asking Chat where we could find this because we're already paying for all these subscriptions. And so could we find it on any of these platforms? It was such a frustrating experience. And so I think what my friend ended up doing is needing to pay for
Wow.
a new subscription
For
to
Disney Plus.
to watch Fantasia.
Wow. I did a quick look up. It's 1940.
1940, yeah. I
Pretty
remember
close.
Mickey. I love Mickey, 1902 Mickey, like that drawing. I love him. He's kind of mean and a little sassy. So he's cut, I just remember him, with the boat, and just like this little thing, and just like all of that way that animation was, how much effort it took to create an animation of just him doing that. So I just remember that era a lot because that was my dad's favorite too. But anyway, just to go back, that and so just from a user experience standpoint, like this should put up red flags to companies everywhere. You are not only making things, you're trying to make things profitable, but at the end user's expense and at the frustration. And so guess what's going to happen? That person who's just subscribed to Disney Plus, as soon as the month is over or as soon as we're done watching the movie, we're going to unsubscribe because we don't like your business logic. And we don't like how your business logic is impacting our, experience using your services.
It's so weird because it's interesting that you bring that up because remember Disney back in the day they created a scarcity model around when they would release their DVDs and
Oh yeah,
VHS.
the
They would do
Disney
a limited
Vault.
time. Yeah, the vaults, and they'd like release them a rare for a brief period of time. This is coming out, and then you're well. It's kind of like it's such a strange thing because I mean I have physical media. I'm sure you have physical media as well, and I just think about how um, like people did purchase that physical media and it did change, but like you would think that that would still at least in some ways be good for something, and you would think that at very least that if you're a big company like Disney or any of these other companies, you might like introduce some free trials, or like or hey, are you looking for Fantasia? Like, I mean, Fantasia's from 1940. I would think that they would just be like, let's just put it up on our free YouTube channel for people to just watch. And then say, and as a at the end of it, you watch it and you throw ads for like, hey, there's more on Disney Plus or whatever. But it's just very strange to me that they would to try to like lock all of that behind a subscription wall.
Yeah. And so what we're seeing is some sort of, I guess, attack on the user experience when it comes to findability and searchability. And I'm wondering if Google somehow is going to do something similar, where it's like, oh, this we own this content or something. And so now any other search engine is not allowed. I don't know. I mean, I can't see it in my mind's eye, but it like there's like more of that happening instead of it being more united.
Well, now that you say that, I mean, I do wonder about like, it feels weird that you and I are talking right now in a video that's in a browser window. And I don't know about you, but the browser windows feel ancient. The idea of using a computer, an internet browser is like such a like, I mean, these date back to the 1990s. Like, why are we the idea of like, oh, we're gonna create a window, and the window is where the internet is going to live, and how it's going to like, is just such a strange idea that we're still like building in this kind of way. And I wonder if, I wonder if Google is not going to end up screwing itself over because it is putting so much um, it has put so much into search, and it has put so much into then having the browser. And when as those experiences have gotten worse, what's going to happen when somebody figures something else out?
I can't wait. I hope somebody comes in and disrupts this whole bullshit idea of, just keeping things siloed. It's the worst. I mean, in corporate America is one of the worst models of how departments function, because it seems as though they're being efficient, but actually because they're not speaking to each other, the whole list. This is why we UX designers and product folks, this is where we excel, because we bring the total vision, the holistic mindset from how someone interacts from the very beginning to the very end. That is something that is our superpower. And connecting that back to, like searchability and findability, it's something that I feel like, we have to, I want to harp on this. If I don't know the exact title of the film, or it's the only time search works. But if I don't know the film exists, search is failing me.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's something that I think I'd like to harp on, where findability is really about helping people cover things that they didn't know they wanted. This is a part of the beauty of what, we do in order to kind of like, again, go into the findability and searchability um, aspects of our industry.
Do you know the other thing, just to hop onto the why you need to hire UX folks and why UX folks are important, is like a lot of these streaming services, as they started to get spun up, if you had good UX folks, they might have told you not to spin up a streaming service. They might have pointed to, because one of the business facts of, they've been referring to this as the streaming wars, is that none of these businesses have been profitable. I think the only one that has done well or has been profitable was for a brief period of time was Netflix. But I think Netflix might have been, there might be like, that might be shakier waters now. But I remember that the one company that people said did really well with the streaming wars was Sony, because Sony got in early and they got out. They launched this thing called PlayStation Network. It bombed, and then they were like, "We're done. We're cutting our losses." And now what does Sony do? Sony now supplies its Spider-Man movies and its other movies to Disney Plus. So Disney Plus is now in the position. Disney now has to carry the bag for holding and maintaining a streaming service. And look at what's happened. All of them keep bundling together. Like you can get your HBO Max, your Disney, your Hulu, your this, that, and the other, and then they're just going to keep merging as well. So
Yeah, exactly, because the unification is where the profit is. Again, if we go back to when discoverability decreases, this is where content gets lost. You
yeah,
kind of have like a history aspect that loses value or just loses itself. Diversity becomes lost, maybe independent creators aren't being found. Obviously, we talked about this from like a classic film perspective. That's not being surfaced because it's not trendy or it's not profitable. Niche audiences are removed, and then of course accessibility gets looked over. So not only really, I think, is the platform becomes optimized for the average, like almost the average user pursuing average experiences, right? And so
yeah.
it's it's at the it's kind of like you're 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 taking the delight that user experiences can provide and remove that because of some business metrics that you're meeting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this, Ryan. What responsibilities do digital platforms have? Or maybe like another way we can like talk about it is, um, do businesses like have like could they maximize engagement like in another way?
When you say maximize engagement, you're talking about how would they get the how do you get and retain the audience in a better way, or what's a better way to do this? What's a better way to do a streaming service? Is that the question, kind of?
Yeah, maybe that's like better is like because the downfall is, hey, we're extremely good at search, but we've lost discoverability. How should, what could a streaming platform do from a business like and still improve business, but still kind of retain the delight of some of the user experience?
I mean, I think one of our previous, I want to say it might have been Todd Featherling who said this, where he was making the reference to Miracle on 34th Street, where the in Miracle on 34th Street, one of the things that happens is they ask uh, a, I think it's a mother that asks the Santa Claus where she can get something, and they're in a Macy's, and he says to them, "Well, no, you can go to Gimbals down the street or whatever the name of the other department store is." And I would say, this is my dumb advice, if I was talking to Ted Sarandos, who's the president of Netflix, and I was giving him my cheap advice to him would be like, you know what? When people start searching on for Daredevil on Netflix, and you guys don't have Daredevil anymore, but you used to have Daredevil, send them over to fucking Disney Plus. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be a great experience? You guys used to have a relationship together. Like, what's it gonna hurt to be like, no, Netflix, no net, you know that data. What's it gonna
Yes.
hurt for you to direct your users and let them know, hey, it's over on Disney Plus? It might
Right.
It's probably going to be a little bit of a shitty experience because you search and then you go, oh, okay, Daredevil's not there, but at least you're telling your user that it's over on Disney Plus, you know. And vice versa,
Exactly. Right. Or and why don't you just like make like put some sort of a deal where it's pennies on the dollar. Hey,
right?
we referenced your movie on our platform, and the link is obviously being followed. All these little pixels are being we're all being followed by little pixels, you guys, if you're not aware of.
Oh yeah.
But right. And so then they'll get like some sort of kickback because of the
And
reference.
I mean, that would be like a very in the grand scheme of all the pain in the ass that is the streaming era that we're in. Like that would be a very, very minor thing. But like Eve, to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, the fact that like it is insane to me that you can go into Walmart and spend $400 and buy legitimately and legally buy some kind of a box that like pirates all of this stuff. But like to me, that should be like very indicative to these streaming platforms that the fact that Walmart is carrying that, and the fact that they are very popular, that should be a a red alarm fire,
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we so discussing this from like an overall perspective, so how like strange it's strange because I feel like we had this like peak experience in internet experience, and I
yeah.
do feel like we're kind of there's like a decrease of that joy happening.
Oh,
I'm having frustration with lots of things technology driven. And I'm not sure why there isn't like this kind of open again with how user experience kind of prioritizes the delightful user experiences, or even just over communicating like what's happening. I had no idea Google was updating all of their services. I mean, the icons changed, but then I noticed Meet changed a couple of their experiences within. So Google Meet is a platform where you can make phone calls similar to Zoom, and so there was like new updates there. There was new updates within like the calendar, but my laptop and my phone weren't synced up, and I didn't know why my calendar didn't update, the invites in the phone, or reverse. And so there's these, I don't know what's happening, right? But why isn't Google sending out an email in this group that will be impacted by this change? It's mind-boggling.
yeah. Google has quickly turned itself into Microsoft in a not a good way, where like it's layered in the dependency. Like I don't know about you, but I feel very dependent on Google, unfortunately, through emails, through calendar, through us using Google Meet, through YouTube. Like, I mean, you just kind of like, I can't, like, so much of everything is like locked into that ecosystem in a way that's not good. Um, and but which reminds me of to kind of like push back to the streaming services. It's the same thing that the streaming services are trying to do to us, which is like lock us into these gated communities, which are not great experiences. And maybe that's part of like the frustration that you and I are kind of like talking about, is the fact that we're like continuously feeling like we're like moving through these small bubbles and not able to like, I don't know, when was the joy of the internet being able to discover new things, because I feel like we don't have that anymore. There's not a the internet is no longer a walkable neighborhood, right?
Right. A walkable neighborhood
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's a great analogy actually, with you kind of talking about the gated communities. Right. So you can't access, your local coffee shop because you don't live in X community. And so now we're just, if you're wanting something general, there's nothing available. You're just not walking on a street that has nothing around because you're not inside this exclusive, audience.
Yeah, you're stuck between your gated community, it's like you're in a gated community and then you move from your gated communities to some other, like a mall bubble or something. You're back in the gated, and then you're back in maybe a second gated community, as opposed to having the walkability of being able to like walk and explore and find new and interesting things.
Right. And I think this is where us connecting back to business, companies really focused on bottom line versus, the longevity of a company,
Yeah.
or the success of it, long term. I think what we're talking about is just these short term, um, kind of dopamine hits or something. Like I do feel like there's something around it where we're not thinking of things long term. Maybe there's a reason behind that, but it just seems like these kind of short term hits, so that I don't know, a bonus gets out. I'm not sure, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, I mean, a lot of all of the strategy around this. If you and I were to put on like our product owner hats, or if we were to talk to product owners, I'm sure that like, I'm sure that the product owners and the people that are in the business community that are behind these streaming platforms, a lot of what they're saying and doing makes sense to them, in terms of like having a subscription fee and then running ads on top of the subscription fee, so that when you're watching things, well, you're paying now, and then you're paying to, now watch ads on top of the TV show um, that we've made you pay us a monthly fee for, right? Like, I'm sure that that makes some kind of like logical sense to them. To me, I think back to the fact that we started DVRs years ago. TiVos and DVRs started all those years ago because people wanted to record TV without watching ads. That was the whole point to begin with. That was the whole idea to begin with, was like people were TiVoing shows so they could, and then fast forwarding through the ads because they didn't want to have to watch ads on their hour long drama or whatever. And
Right.
now we're back to that. Now we're back to we've come full circle.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm noticing too, or maybe an example is, when you search for a product on Amazon and it's unavailable, they don't stop helping you. What do? They suggest alternatives until
Uh-huh.
you reach the goal, right? Until you reach your goal of purchase or something. But what would happen if streaming companies would adopt the same mindset?
Well,
Right?
they
Hey, this
do
title isn't available, but it's currently streaming elsewhere, like you mentioned earlier.
what they do is um they uh they will recommend stuff that is like the thing that you wanted. So if you look up a superhero show that's not on their platform, they'll have, whatever other superhero shows or action movies or science fiction stuff, that they will be like, oh, we don't have that, but we have this type of similar stuff, which
Okay, great.
from
Like
a
that
UX,
to me,
yeah,
yeah.
from a UX perspective, okay, not great, but because if I want to watch Ninja Turtles and your platform does not have the Ninja Turtle show that I want to watch, then then I don't know if Babe Pig in the City is gonna do it, right, or whatever.
Well, that's good. is what I'm trying to show, especially if executives, if you're listening, you should double down on UX because it that build what you're wanting to do is build trust that your platform is still helpful and usable, right? This is why I brought up the Amazon example, because what it's doing is it's a competitive advantage to build trust so that your content libraries become something that maybe people will say, well, like let's say this streaming service did help me last time, so let's try it again. They're going to remember that. They're going to go back to you. User trust is hard to, first of all, gain and then to copy. So when users believe your platform genuinely, because it genuinely helped them, they will return, right? This is like, something I would definitely note down as an advantage of having a UX team on your payroll, or, hiring a UX consultant. What it does is it creates engagement, because people don't often leave because they don't leave because they found something helpful. They usually come back to it. If they found something helpful, they'll remember, okay, this platform helped me with this. Let me do this again and see, maybe, they'll give more information. So I think that is like something I wanted to kind of hone in on, is that trust is a competitive advantage. Um, and when you look, I know we're honed in on search being a search engine as a streaming service, but discoverability um, is creates engagement. So when people, this is what we're talking about, of like the
Yeah.
heydays of the internet that are being, again, siloed. When you, people often don't leave because they they finish content. They leave because they can't find it. So having like a better findability increases engagement. And I think it's just, if you think about it, I think it's just cheaper. So what I mean by that is studios are kind of spending maybe billions of dollars creating content. A fraction of that is if you invest it in discoverability, personalization, accessibility, navigation, it can dramatically change the outcome of your platform.
100%. This thing, you're gonna laugh at this. So the name of this pirated box is called the Superbox S6 Pro 6K Android TV box with Wi-Fi 6 voice remote TV streaming media stick devices. It looks like a Wi-Fi router. It is $400 and it is sold at Best Buy.
Wow.
Um, well, and I would like to read from their website. There's from their questionnaire. There's a question about how legal they are, and it. Let's see. Well, 1 second. This is from their FAQ. I'm not kidding you. Is Superbox legal? The answer is yes. Superbox is legal. That's it. So, yeah, if you are wondering, yeah, that's
It sounds like it comes directly from the legal department, legalese.
yes, absolutely. And if you're wondering, it does not. It really does not. It looks very. I will say, just this is not an endorsement of Superbox at all. At all. I would be very suspect of putting this into my home. But there are a whole bunch of these that have started to pop up all over the place. And I think and so and when I look at that, I look at that's one of the elements where I would think UX professionals should be using this to make business cases for what these streaming services could be doing better, because it is not a good sign when you start to see an uptick in pirating. that is a bad sign uh, for streaming and for wanting to get content, gather content, and consume movies, TV shows, art online.
Yeah, without recurring monthly fees. That sounds
Mm.
great. Um, so what it says here too, at least I'm just doing a quick search, is that the hardware itself is legal. It's basically Android TV box, but the controversy comes from the apps and content sources people use on it. There's like, I guess, several discussions happening about Supervox involving access to content that may not be properly licensed. Cybersecurity experts have raised concerns about malware,
Oh
your
yeah,
own privacy,
yeah.
right? Because this data being collected, it's not like this is like, you're like, oh, great, I pay this one-time fee and it's free. Like you're kind of like a 23andMe. Data is being, like harvested.
Uh huh.
Harvested is a good word. I'm gonna start using that. That just came to me. And so there, again, unlike mainstream services like Roku or Amazon, Fire TV stick or something, or Apple TV, Superbox operates in a much less transparent ecosystem, and that's from The Verge. It's just a direct quote from there.
Well, and I'll also just add, a reviewer that I saw use one of these devices was basically saying, if you're hooking this up to your router or if you're hooking this up to your internet, that is a high level of danger that you are adding in because of exactly the malware issue, and God only knows what else is in some of these devices. So be very cautious. That's not to say all of them have this issue, but be very, very cautious.
Okay, so based on this article, as I'm looking at it, Brian, can we confirm that it is available at Best Buy? Um,
I have
it's,
Yeah, I have a
yeah, because I'm
screenshot of it.
getting, you have, okay, great. Yeah, I just want to make sure because I guess the Verge article here is from February 4th, 2026. And it just kind of mentioned that it's not in mainstream um stores like Walmart and Best Buy, but
I have
that
a
could have changed recently.
I'll take a screenshot of it that I have here. Is not I did not see it on a Walmart, even though I thought I had heard that it was originally in Walmart. I do see it up on Amazon and on Best Buy.
Right. Okay, wow. I wonder what has changed from February until now. I mean, this is all happening within the same, just within a few months of each other.
Well, Walmart also has some other, it looks like they have other types of questionable boxes that I'll just take some screenshots of that we'll put up. um, and then we can also, like I said, we'll also put up our great little answer of as to how legal some of these things are.
All right.
Do we
Anything else on this?
Nothing else on this, but we should talk real quickly about that. You and I are both going to config
That's right. Yes, we're going to be in config in what, like 2 weeks? No,
two
maybe
weeks.
3. Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
So by the time this episode hopefully is going up, people will be seeing us at config.
Yes. So if you are attending config, can you guys comment below or send us an email at questions@uxmurdermystery.com. We'd love to see you there.
And as a special, just a special ask too, please leave us a review or a rating on Apple Podcast or any of the ratings. Leave that always helps the show. We're trying to grow our subscriber base. We'd like to grow. Right now we're at 77. Love to grow to like 150 by the end of this year. If y'all could recommend it, share the podcast, help us all out.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, please subscribe. If we don't, I don't think we ever say that, but here we are.
All right.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week. Like, subscribe, and follow, or become our next victim of bad UX.
UX Murder Mystery is a joint production of Eve, User Experience Design Agency, and Crowley UX, where systems meet stories. It's hosted by Brian J. Crowley and Eve Eden. Edited by Kelsey Smith. Intro animation and logo design by Brian J. Crowley. Music is by Nicholas Lee. You can follow us at UX Murder Mystery. You can email us at questions@uxmurdermystery.com. UX Murder Mystery is a copyright 2025, Brian J. Crowley and Eve Eden. Thanks for listening.